All right. So tonight we are talking about ideas for icebreakers and big games and vulnerable moments in workshops and camps, which all of you are working on this summer. And I'm really excited to be working with 3 people who are going to be sharing today. And at the end of that session, if any of you guys have other ideas that you want to share with the group, you are absolutely welcome to do that. And of course, questions are totally welcome. We're a very informal camp group, so we roll with it. We're going to start. I'm going to send everybody a link in the chat real quick, and this will have a write-up of all the activities that everybody is talking about today. These are all on our website, and these ones are specifically geared towards camp, so you are welcome to use those. These are like a supplemental resource to what you're hearing today. So we're going to start with some ladies from my home state. We have Cecile in Iowa, and they're going to share about some big games and icebreakers that are kind of new and exciting and fresh and maybe you haven't heard before. So take it away, ladies.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, Taylor. Yes, so we have about 6 game nights / really fun icebreakers to share. Some of them are pretty, they would take up a whole evening, and other ones are just like a quick thing. Mm-hmm. So we'll just breeze through them. At some point we'll have some pictures, so we'll share our screen with you. So the first icebreaker we've got is called handshakes. It's a really fun icebreaker just for like a big group of people who haven't met each other yet. So how it works is the person introducing the game will come up with about 5 or so kind of funny handshakes. Mm-hmm. So we can demo one. Just down to up, nice to meet you. Okay, so let's start our first handshake.
So hopefully it's not too laggy.
Yeah.
But it'd be like, nice to meet you.
So something like that, something really weird. And then everyone in the group has to go find like 5 people and do that handshake. So it gets them mingling, it gets them talking. Yeah. I think in the description there's a few on there already that you could use. Otherwise, just make it up and just have fun.
Yeah, and it just tends to get progressively crazier and crazier as people get more and more comfortable with being ridiculous. And it's a good way to get everyone to mingle with everyone. So it's just really fun, easy to do. Another really nice icebreaker that we enjoy to do is we're going to start screen sharing, so hopefully this works, but it's kind of a spin-off of if you guys have seen the Newlywed Game. So we kind of created our own sort of deal like that called the Newly Friend Game. And that's really fun to do. We don't have so many pictures from that one, but basically how it works is that you tell everyone in the room to get a partner, or you'll just assign everyone in the room a new partner. This becomes their new friend.
Iowa, hang on a second.
Okay.
It's
taking a while.
It's just saying loading. I just want to make sure you're on the right.
Oh, am I on it?
Okay.
Is it there?
Yeah, okay, there you go. Yep.
Cool. So it's called the Newly Friend Game. You give everyone a partner, and then you tell them that, okay, you guys have like 5 minutes or 7 minutes to get to know as much about your partner as you possibly can. What's their favorite fruit? What are they allergic to? Favorite animal, middle name, things like this. And then at the end of 5 minutes, you tell them that you're going to select like 5 or, however many random couples or friends to come up to the hot seat, and we're going to quiz you on how well you know your new friend. And it's really funny because you just make the questions kind of outrageous and have they probably definitely didn't cover it. Like questions like, if your new friend was a princess, which one would they be? Like A, Jasmine, B, Cinderella, and just kind of ridiculous questions that they definitely didn't cover. And you have their partner leave the room while they're answering that about their friend, and then their partner will come back in the room, and you kind of reveal your answers, and the friend would say what they were. And does that make sense?
Yeah. So then and then they would swap. So then the other partner would go out of the room, and then the person A would answer a question like, what kind of dog would your partner be? Yeah. And then it's kind of funny because the group that knows each other the best wins, even though it was kind of silly to begin with.
Yeah. But again, yeah, it's a good way to get people who don't normally like talk or get to know each other just to be laughing and like you kind of share that funny memory of like losing or winning that game. It's fun. And even if you don't get selected to be on the hot seat, you still spent 5 minutes like just trying to figure out with somebody else. So it's a good way to get people talking.
Yeah. Yes. So that is a good one. So this next one, we've done it a few times, is the Hunger Games. So yeah, this one is kind of a big event. So it's good for like a sports afternoon or a whole evening. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it depends on how many people you have, but first you would split up your group, split up each person into pairs or groups, and that's their district. So that's their team for the whole time. And then each group would get around the cornucopia. So if anyone has seen the Hunger Games, it's like a whole bunch of districts that go around a big circle full of weapons and full of shields and stuff. So this is going to be like a huge game of tag with these teams, but with a lot of twists. So each team would have a different color tape, or if you want to use string, that works too. So the goal of the game would be to either tape other teams with your color or rip off the, other teams' strings. So if you get like yarn from the like a craft store, it rips off really easily when you pull it off. So something like that. And then the whole game, everyone's running around trying to tag other teams. But there's a lot of twists. So at the beginning, everyone's around this cornucopia, which is full of different backpacks. And once you start the game, everyone runs in, grabs a backpack, and then has at it. And if you read the descriptions, it goes more into it, but each backpack has like a cool thing. So one of them might have a shield. So if they're wearing the shield, nobody can tag them for 30 seconds, which is pretty much just like an umbrella or something. Or another one would be like an orange, which is like a bomb or something. So they can hit someone else with it and they freeze for a few seconds. So if you look at the description, it has all of those in there. But each backpack has like a cool thing. So yeah, that's essentially how the big game works. And then every 10 minutes or so, you'd call everyone back to the middle for a mini game. So we have some of the mini games also in the descriptions, but these are basically big group games where people can get more points. So one of the mini games that we did, we made up a few and have them listed on there. But for example, one of them was like a slingshot challenge. So they have to use like big rubber bands and marshmallows to hit a target. Whichever team gets the most points wins. Yeah, so that's essentially how the big game goes. If you want to be even more creative, you could do a fashion show. So if you've seen the Hunger Games, before the whole arena starts, there's like each district gets to like have a fashion show pretty much, and yeah, just kind of show off their stuff. So we did that once and it was kind of fun. So each district had like a theme, like one was like wood and one was like silver, and we had a whole bunch of random props and they just picked them out and did a fashion show and we judged them and they had a lot of fun with it, as you can see. Yeah, so that essentially is it. It's more clear if you read through all the descriptions, but that was a fun game.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so, and we know a lot of these games sound really complicated, but they're actually quite simple, especially if you follow the instructions, so hopefully this isn't overwhelming. So another evening program we do is Minute to Win It, which is also based off a TV show. I don't know if this is gonna work. We have to request access. Yeah. So basically how Minute to Win It works is on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of these blueprint videos, and they're pretty much like 30-second videos explaining a challenge that a person will have to complete in 1 minute or they don't win. So that's kind of like, there are all these fun mini games. Like one of them is about stacking apples. I think you can just go on. But yeah, if you want to look it up, there's also a link to the YouTube channel that has all these blueprints. But yeah, it's pretty easy to find. But yeah, like one challenge would be like, can you stack 5 apples on top of each other in 1 minute and have it stay standing? And kind of that's how it works. You put them into teams, and then they send representatives each time. Sometimes you can do battle of the sexes, and you can have boy, girl versing in these kind of rounds. But they're just like weird challenges that nobody particularly would be good at or bad at. So it's just like everyone has a fair chance to win. And they take turns sending representatives to compete in these minute-to-minute challenges. So yeah, there's a lot of fun ones on there, and you can make it as long or as short of a game night that you want. You know, you could do maybe 3 rounds, or you could do even 10 rounds. It's all up to you. But yeah, there's a whole library of different things that you can choose from. Yeah, and you usually don't need that many props. It's usually like a couple apples or a penny or even like peanut butter, but nothing extravagant. You know, it's all really simple.
And this one especially isn't too much prep because if you YouTube that, he's called That Blueprint Guy. He has hundreds of different like activities, like 1 minute challenges that you can choose from. So this one especially is pretty easy to put together. Cool. So this next one is my favorite. It's called Silent Library. So it's not a very well-known TV show, but this is a show. And how it works is you have different teams, and they're in a library. So in the library, you're not allowed to make any noise. You're not allowed to laugh. So each team takes turns going to the hot seat. So there's a table in the middle of the library with chairs around it. And that team is not allowed to laugh for the whole time they're sitting at the table. So for each member of the team, you have a different card. All of them except for one say safe. And then there's one card that has the skull and crossbones on it. So you mix it up, you put it in front of each player, and then at the same time they flip their cards. And whoever has the skull and crossbones is the one that has to do an embarrassing or funny task. And the whole time they're doing their task, nobody on the team can laugh or they lose points. So we have all the tasks written there, but here are a couple of them. One of them is they get slapped in the face by a fish by every member on the team. So I mean, this one you have to go out and buy a fish, but it's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny.
And the whole time they can't laugh. So this is a picture of Iowa getting hit by a fish. Another one, we had Fat Man Twister. So if you have those big sweatsuits, they're pretty easy to find at a department store, or just an oversized t-shirt, and stuff it with blankets and stuff, and then that person has to play Twister by themselves until they fall. There's also a whoopee cushion, which is standard funny humor. I think we made this one up. It was cupcake face. So whoever got the skull and bones had to get hit in the face with a cupcake. So there's a few listed out there, but you can also just try to come up with some yourself. And they're just really funny. The whole night, everyone's just laughing a lot. So that one's pretty simple, but also really funny.
And then one of our last ones that we find really fun to do, and actually takes no props necessary. It's an evening of improv, which can seem intimidating, or I don't know, maybe you feel like that's not your thing or something, but improv night we found to be really funny, and anyone can enjoy it just through participating or just laughing along. You can feel part of the night. We have a bunch of improv games that are listed there. Some are a little bit more at the basic level. You know, if you're just getting one is called time, and you give them a scene. So first day of school. So they would act out the scene, just one person's the teacher, a couple are the kids for a couple minutes. And then you say, stop. Okay, I want you to do the same exact scene, but in 2 minutes. And then they have to do it again, but in 1 minute. And then they have to do it again, but in 30 seconds. And the time gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And it's really funny just to see them there's games where for more advanced people, or if you're more comfortable with improv, maybe you can do it, or you feel comfortable to carry out a scene. one's called the ABCs. So you get like 3 people and you give them a scene, like scenario, like, okay, you're a dentist working on someone's teeth. And then so all 3 of them are in that scene, and they have to, each of their lines has to start with the letter of the alphabet, and they have to go all the way through until they finish the alphabet. So if I was the first person to go, I'd be like, always great to see you, Jimmy. And then she would have to say a sentence that starts with B, and then the third person C, and back to my sentence D, and it goes like that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of cool games that you can play at different skill levels, but it's always really funny.
Yeah. People are always very hesitant for improv because it's kind of scary and they think they have to be funny. But it's actually like, I think people can learn a lot from it. Like, that there's no wrong answer, and you know, there's a lot of like life lessons in there, I think. And if they're not as comfortable, just to do it like off of nothing. We also did it once as it was a Sunday school, so they had to do Bible improv. So they did like a story as a skit, but using these improv games. So like they'd have to do it shorter and shorter, or through the ABC game.
Sorry. Yes, but that, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, well then those are all our games. I hope
Okay.
that was clear enough.
One more, did you want to mention Battle of the Sexes?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, we can.
It's on the list.
It's on the list.
Sorry.
Okay, cool. Well, Battle of the Sexes is also really fun. It's literally a battle between guys and girls, and they get really into it. So the first round, you have tasks that are that girls are typically better at, and tasks that guys are typically better at. So the girls' tasks would be like nail painting, flexibility. And then the guys' tasks would be like sound effects, burping, that kind of thing. Push-ups. And you send representatives from the guys and girls for each of these tasks. But the guys are going to do, the guys and the girls are going to compete in these tasks. So the girls have an advantage for the girls' tasks, obviously, and the guys have an advantage for the more manly tasks, like arm wrestling. Mm-hmm. And then there's another round, which is trivia round. So you get a whole bunch of questions that a guy would know. So I don't even remember, like
what's the side of the boat?
Yeah. Different sides of a boat, or like what a tool's name is, and then you would have girls' questions. Yeah. So like what like types of shoes, or and then the guys would answer the girls' questions, the girls' trivia questions. The girls would answer the guys' ones. And they would compete with those. And you could, if you wanted, add in like kind of a neutral minute to win it round if you want more questions, just using these the minute to win it games we mentioned earlier. And have both the guys and the girls compete with that. That's also really fun.
Yeah, it's a great way to get like the sister unity going if you're trying to like prep for, the brother sister night, or you just want to create like some kind of bonding agent. It's a great night to have.
And in my experience, the girls usually win. I don't know why that is.
You guys get very competitive.
The girls win at burping.
Yeah, the girls win at burping,
surprisingly.
Pretty well.
And the boys win at hair braiding last time.
Right. Great. Thank you, Iowa and Cecile. Before we go to Koki, does anybody have any questions about those games and icebreakers? Descriptions of them are on the website, but if you want to just clarify something, go for it. You can just unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, cool. Great. So we're going to change the topic a little bit. Koki from Bay Area is going to be sharing about vulnerable activities. These are the kind of things where you're looking to have a deeper experience and opening an environment to get people to share and get to know each other on a deeper level. And Koki has a few activities and pointers to share with us. So let's welcome him. Yay, Koki.
Hello, everybody. So I think we started. I don't know if Bay Area like exactly started these, but definitely it was a lot of it was an influence from like NGA and their activities that they do over their year, or from Ignite or Summer Challenge, and yeah, and so a big purpose behind, like Haley Nunes said, like a big purpose behind why we do these, at least like in 1 hour camp and in the winter workshops that we have, the reason why we do these vulnerable activities, like no matter how big the camp or the workshop might be in size, in participant size, it's to at least for the participant, whatever they're going through, that there is usually one other person that either understands or is going through it at the same time, and it allows for that connection and that bond in relationship, and being vulnerable, it allows for a deeper experience throughout camp or whatever it is, and then you take that home. I think like the biggest thing that for in what I've seen in my experience in leading camps, like a lot of the kids, or the participants, like they take home the relationships because they don't remember much else, but they take home the relationships. So I'm gonna break it down into the 3 activities. If you really knew me, radar, and then touch someone who. I feel like most of you guys have done this activity. If not, it's good. It's okay. We're learning. So I'm gonna start with the one that requires not like the least amount of people, but it's done in the smallest group size. So it's called If You Really Knew Me. The idea is being able to share what you don't usually share. Testimony and experience that you have. We always preface with some testimony given by, or testimonies given by staff members or older brothers and sisters, with the idea of being able to understand like what that person went through, even though we didn't know, like on the surface level, it might seem like they're a pretty happy person. However, they might have had some like experience in their life that was difficult for them, or that we never really knew. But anyways, a lot of like what people tend to share is like what they're going through, rather than like what they have gone through. And that's what's like a lot of times burdening. That is a lot of times what's burdening on their heart the most. So yeah, we have like usually 3 or 4 testimonies given by older brothers or sisters given, and then you split off usually in your own groups, whether that's like 4 people or 7, 10 people, and then you have from that group usually the group leader. If it's like 2 groups, and then the other would share just like an experience, like their life testimony, and in doing so, like it gives the kids, the participants, a platform for them to talk about things that they normally don't get, because no one really, or not no one, but it's a very, very rare opportunity that you have in your daily life in expressing like what you're going through, if it's like depression, or if it's something like really like burdening on your heart with your family, with the church. Those are like topics that come up a lot. So it's a platform and an opportunity for the participants to share. And usually what we emphasize for the group leaders is we try and have like a dynamic where one group leader would share an experience that's like pretty positive, like like something that's like not positive, but something that they overcame and they're in a better place now. And then the other one would talk about something that's still like hard for them to like overcome, or in the process of like it gives like the dynamic, like contrasting emotions or experiences. Like one person's like really not like really positive, but is uplifting, and the other one is like it allows for the kids to say, oh, I'm struggling with this also in my life, or I've also like experienced this. Now's the chance that I can share with my brothers and sisters. So that's If You Really Knew Me. This is like the most talkative activity that we have for the kids to be vulnerable. Next is Radar. This is also similar in I guess in the environment that it creates. And it usually works. This one can work with a big group or a small group. The idea is you have some object in the middle of the room, or I know like some people do like crossing the line, like that's also what it's called, in which you have people stand furthest away from whatever it is, like whether it's a rope or a line or like an object in the middle, like a chair, and then you have that be the indicator of if you connect to the prompt or not. And so usually go, I like school. And if you like school, like the people flock to the middle, like depending on how much they connect with it or they don't. If they really hate school, then they stand far away. If they like school, they stand close. The idea for this one is it's a silent activity. You don't talk. So this one gives the people participating the opportunity, without saying anything, with just the prompts, get a sense of knowing where people are at, or like, hey, I'm not the only one that experiences this with my family. That I'm not like that. It's not only like a relief, but it also gives them, again, like a connection or a bond in heart with that person. Gives them that common ground. And then what usually happens is we have like really easy prompts, or like things that anyone can relate with. Whether it's like, again, like I'm excited to be here, and then people flock to the middle, or don't, or I like cars, and then people go to the middle, and then you like progressively get, I guess, deeper and deeper. The topics that usually come up are in regards to family, faith, and peer pressure in school, things like that. Because a lot of times I think the youth have this victim mentality, or like this, I'm the only person in the world that goes through this, and therefore it's hard for me to share or express. And so they don't. But in being able to have these prompts, allow the kids to go closer if they connect to it or not. It again, like, gives them, it gets them out of that mentality, that victim mentality that a lot of people have. And then it goes to like questions like, you don't have to, but we've done it in like the past for One Heart, and I guess it works. Like some of the prompts or questions were like, not questions, but the prompts were, I've gone through depression, and like you'd be surprised to see like a lot of people have gone through like the same experience with just like that one statement. And it's like very emotional. I guess with every one of these vulnerable activities, you have to expect a lot of tears, a lot of emotions to be evoked out of the kids and out of the leaders too. But what is important is that with each activity, it's not just like an outlet for just like emotions, because then it is just an outlet. You're just like kind of not complaining, but just you just get a perspective like, oh, my life sucks and his life sucks. Like this is bad and this is bad. But it's always good to redirect it in a way in which you can guide them towards something higher than themselves, or like to help, or to each other. Whether that is emphasizing the relationships, the interpersonal relationships with each other, or the parent-child relationship. It's always good to have that kind of debriefing after each of these activities. To get them help ultimately. It's not only so that we can know where they're at, but it's so that they can take that experience or take that knowledge of where they're at and go home with it. And then the last one is like, it's more uplifting and happy, and not as, it's not as maybe heavy-hearted emotional. I still think that most of you guys have done this activity. But if not, the idea is you have half of whoever's participating, like the camp, be split up into people who are sitting down and they have their eyes closed, and then people who are standing up. The people who are standing up, they have the mission and task to touch someone who depending on what the prompt is. So a prompt can be like, touch someone who has made you laugh. And so the people who are standing up touch someone who's made them laugh. The people who are sitting down, they don't know who's touching them, but they can feel through that physical touch alone that, oh, like I made someone laugh. Again, it like gets them out of like, maybe not like the victim mentality, but it gets them out of this idea that I don't have value, I'm not loved, or I don't have the capacity to love. It gets the kids, and I've experienced it myself, to a very, very in a very, very powerful way, that, wow, I do impact people in a positive way in my life and in their lives as well. And so it gives them the outlet to, not the outlet, but it gives them the opportunity to see that they are valuable by their peers. Yeah, and it's usually pretty long. Yeah, it just goes through a series of questions, and then you switch, and that's just the idea. You just get an idea of who that yeah, you affect people in a good and positive way. I guess it's important that sometimes, like, brothers and sisters, like, yeah, that's something to, like, always be careful for, because, like, it is, like, a lot of times that touch is manifested in a hug or in, like, patting their back or whatever it is. Just got to make sure and be careful for be careful for the brother and sister relationships. But anyways, like, it's the co-ed. It's, if it's like a guy to a girl, I usually just see like a pat and that's it. Sometimes it is a hug. It's good to keep it brief. But it's still good to know that, wow, you affect a lot of people in a good way, or in a positive and endearing way. And they take that home, or carried out with the purpose of letting them take those relationships home, those positive relationships, and find that at home for themselves. If they live far away or if they're in a small community, for them to know that they do affect people. Like, and you don't have to know just once a year that you connect with another person or that you make them happy. Yeah. Yes, I think that's it. Questions? No.
Great, thank you, Kofi. Does first of all, I just want to acknowledge his wisdom in all of these. I really appreciate, Kofi, your explanation behind why we're doing things. It's easy when you're doing camps and youth ministry to, like, see an activity that people were crying in and think, like, yeah, I want to have that. But to understand, like, the bigger purpose behind this stuff, the value doesn't just come from emotional experiences, but it comes from having clear intention and then clear follow-up. So really just want to acknowledge that perspective. Does anybody have any questions for Kofi regarding those activities?
I have a question.
Go for
it.
What are some things that you would do for follow-up after those?
Yeah, so it depends on which one. Just a disclaimer. Usually, if you touch someone who is kind of hard to do with the smaller group, it just doesn't work as well as I've seen. But, like, for something like radar, like when you do, or like in if you really knew me, if you see that one of your participants or group members express that they, something bad, like to the extreme of, like, maybe depression or suicide, then that's something that the group leader can, like, pick up, and then they can report it up to whoever's to someone elder. A lot of times, like for radar, for example, like when it is like one of the more confronting questions or prompts, we as a core staff have the job of being aware and keen of who are the ones, like the trend of who's going, who's not. People who are, like, in a better place, don't them as much, but the people who do go for, like, the tougher questions, the tougher prompts, to go closer to the object in the middle for. A lot of it is just being aware, and then having direct follow-up with someone older, someone who is capable of giving them that help, or leading them to, like, their pastor, their parents, professional help if needed, because we have had to do that in the past. Almost every year, I think. I wasn't a part of it, but you do have to have that follow-up constantly, not only in that one moment, but throughout the week too, having their group leaders check in, like, how are you doing, like, in this camp? Like, you feel, not like you do feel better, but just gauging them with where they're at. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it just is a follow-up.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you. Yes. Tom, sorry.
All right, yeah. All right, I'd like to just throw in a comment. All right.
Go for it.
Instead of just having people talk and ask questions, I think that it's also equally important to try to instill a sense of self-confidence and self-worth. Make them understand that they are important in their eyes and God's eyes. Not just, like, from the world around them and what they're feeling from it, but, like, they need to have some sort of foundation to establish some themselves at. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I know Koki and I have spoken about this when we were at the Youth Pastors Retreat, and these kind of activities bring up a lot, especially for teenagers who are just very hormonal. And I really encourage something to happen afterwards if it's possible. Whether it just be if it's a small group, a group hug and a prayer and like a little pep talk from the leader, or some kind of reflection about how we can overcome these challenges in our lives, or something like that leads it in a positive direction. We use the emotion as a foundation to build that confidence and build that foundation, so we're forward moving and not just sulking in the woe is me teenager adolescent stage of life. So something like that is always good to include. Thanks for bringing up that point, Tom.
Yep.
Anybody else? Questions or comments? Yes, Yuki.
So Cookie, for example, like you were saying in terms of depression or something, if you want to lead them to someone, does your camp already have like a list of people? Like I have connections to some people, but not for like every single topic that someone could bring up, I like to expand on my own contacts, I guess, but I don't know if you already have something like that.
Sorry, to clarify, do you mean for like the prompts that we give, or?
Yeah, like you're saying in terms of like, let's say someone walks into the object in the center like really close for maybe some like touchier subjects, like earlier you were mentioning depression, and of course maybe that might be more like the professional help, or maybe that's someone in our church that's like better suited for that type of thing versus just like a parent or just like a pastor. I don't know if you guys have something like that, or just wondering.
I think it definitely, that requires talking to the person themselves. And so we have that's not like the only way that we kind of get a sense of where they're at in their life back home. We have, one-on-ones, we have sharings with them. Something that we have been doing as a camp are things called elder cards. So if they do, if a lot of times, the people who do have those or are going through those experiences of the extreme of depression, then they'll usually want to talk to someone. And then from there, you see, this person not like they're exaggerating those emotions. But sorry, yeah, when I say once, we experience it once a year, it is for usually the same people who do experience very severely. It's not like everybody who has depression or has experienced some form of depression has to go get professional help. A lot of the times it does just take connecting them to their parents or to their youth ministry, to older brothers and sisters in the community. I personally never led someone to get professional help. A lot of times it's usually settled in a one-on-one, or the one of the aunts of the camp would give that personal attention to the participant, and then they follow up with the community, wherever they go. For example, if that kid lives in the Bay Area, then we usually have people, the leaders in the Bay Area, follow up with them. Yeah, but it's pretty extreme. In a rare case, I've personally never had to deal with something where I have to lead them to a professional help. But yeah.
I know that I have heard from your camp or from Sungil that when those serious situations come up, they do make it a point to seek professional help, and they involve their pastor in that process. So I think that's important to recognize that as a youth leader and a youth pastor, you can only do so much. And it's not really you're just a couple years older than these kids. It's not really your job to go find somebody for them, but it is the pastor's responsibility, and they can take that more vertical role to talk with the parents and orchestrate all of that. So it's just your job to report it to the correct central figure so that it can be handled if, suicide or abuse or things like that do come up in those sharings. Would you agree with that, Koki? Sorry to interrupt you.
Definitely.
Okay, cool. Tom, you want to add something?
Yeah. Depression and all kinds of negative emotions are normally just symptoms of something much larger. All right, so maybe instead of just going straight to professionals, maybe we can somehow incentivize physical activity, spending time outside, and eating a proper diet, like not just during the week of camp, but also like from there on out. You feel me?
Sure, yeah.
Because with proper exercise, diet, and sunlight, or just being in nature, all right, you can vastly change how people are feeling, all right, because most people nowadays are just encased and sitting all day, and that does have a lot of negative effects on your mental health as well as your physical health. So I think that spending time outside is a big part that needs to be addressed, and maybe even have like an accountability system in place to make sure that, hey, you're getting your exercise in, you're following your self-prescribed diet, like for a more healthier existence. Make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's also case by case. Everybody's situation is different.
Yes.
For me, the key point is like we have to recognize we're not like professionals in this area. So those kind of things are good if we can be those accountability partners for our younger brothers and sisters and help them build healthy habits. Absolutely. But when more serious things come up, we have to recognize that our portion of responsibility is not this. It's greater than us. So it's good to let the pastor be involved and talk with the parents, and it create the support system that's needed to follow up on all of those areas. Great, thank you. So I want to turn it over. Do any of you guys want to add any fun icebreakers, activities, or deep moments, or other things that you want to share with the group? You can just give me like a no if you're not. Okay. Yeah, Christelle.
I know an activity that popped in my brain. We were kind of talking about it, Yuki. We were thinking of having it as like the follow-up at the very end of camp, which I mean, I'm sure you guys have done it. It's basically like a variation of like Fuzzy Wuzzies, but it was also very similar to how we did affirmations at the young adult retreat last year for District 8 with David Young. And basically it's just like because we don't have it hashed out yet, but basically it's like a mixture of a donut, the donut activity, and Fuzzy Wuzzies. So I guess, okay, in a nutshell, that the idea that we had that we thought would really be a great way of that affirming like value in each other, but not just a written, but a verbally. That if you ever done the donut activity, basically you have a bigger circle and a smaller circle, and in the smaller circle you yourself write down positive points about yourself, or just points about yourself, like your strengths and stuff. And then just in the donut activity, you would actually just pass that around, and then people will write down on the outside, what they thought of you. So then basically that paper becomes like a thing that you can go to. But what we did at the young adult retreat, which I thought was very powerful, of course, these young adults, but we're thinking that maybe the splice of this idea could be very powerful for like younger age, but that you do start out with like, you yourself writing in the circle what you think is like your best points and stuff, and then you do pass it around a circle. But I think so far the idea was that each person will write down a word, but then explain why verbally to that person. We haven't gone in detail, but that basically we thought that would be a really good tool of being an affirmation activity, to like not just writing down, but actually verbally having a chance to verbally talk it, because it is a difference of like reading something and then actually like someone saying it. So anyways, just an idea that popped in my head, that especially like after the more vulnerable ones like radar, and if you really knew me, to like really like not just a touch activity, like actually face to face, knowing who said it and the sincerity of it, yeah. Anyways, I'm sure there's many different variations of doing that, but that was just, I think, what we were thinking so far for our camp for this year.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Christelle. Anybody else want to add something?
I can say something.
Yeah.
So this kind of goes with what we were saying about reporting up. Something that I really was trying to tell like my staff for our last winter workshop was that it's really important that people report up. Sometimes it's really easy to think like something isn't important, but it could be. And so it's just clear like that, like whether you or one of the core staff is just going up to someone and saying like, oh, hey, like did anything happen? Or like if you do have a staff meeting every night, like are there any kids you're worried about? And if it's something more serious, then just like kind of saying that. Like this year, luckily we didn't have anything like too serious, so no one like said it, but I was always like, hey, if there's anything that comes up, like let me know. Just because it is easy sometimes to like a year before we had this one situation that was really bad and it didn't get reported up, and then it got really, really bad. It got worse. But then we knew about it, and so there was like a lot of, anyway, so it's kind of like a lot of drama that you can save yourself if like everyone's just clear with like reporting up. And then the other thing I wanted to say was when we do these deep activities, it's really prepared. For our workshops, we like plan it with the staff, so it's like sometimes like it's like, oh yeah, the staff has it, they got it. But then sometimes you really need to like meet right before and even like run through, like do like a like have one person just run through it, because like when you actually do it at the workshop at the site, sometimes things change. And so like we had one activity, we did kind of like the coming back to God activity, and so we like changed it when we were there. We like changed our idea. We're gonna have 2 groups of like, it's really important that like the staff feels prepared, because yeah, if not, then it's just really confusing, and just makes it a lot easier as a core staff if your staff is like confident and like good. So yeah, I just wanted to share that point.
Thanks, Melissa. We've got a couple more minutes. Anybody else want to share something? Ask a question? Yeah, Yuki.
Question.
No, man, you can ask the question first.
Oh.
I just have a question for Koki. I remember doing the elder cards at One Heart last year. How did you guys do that again? Like with the paper and stuff?
It's like a small sheet of paper where you have like name, grade, and then you have, these are at the top, and then you have name of the elder you want to talk to, and then you can write specifically who you want to talk to, or you can just do anybody, you don't care. And then you have a list of topics from like family, friends, school, chapter 2 problems, pornography, depression, and then like other, I can't say all of them off the top of my head, and then we collect them all. This is usually done after brothers and sisters night, because that's when like a lot of things come up from the self about like, things back at home. And then we go through them, and then we follow up with them. We have one-on-ones with them. Yeah, so it's better to do them. I mean, One Heart is a pretty big camp, and out of 100 participants, I think like there's usually like half of them request, maybe like not half, maybe like
wow.
Maybe like I don't know, a third of them request talking to someone elder, whether that's like a group leader or it is like someone old, like a core staff or like an aunt. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
And then just in their own convenience, own time, does it happen at the workshop, after the workshop?
It's usually better at the workshop, because then it is easy to neglect. Also, it makes them think like, oh, it's not important enough. But if it is like big enough, I mean, usually when it's big enough, like that, whatever it is that they're asking for to have a talk with, we usually address that as soon as possible. If it is like something small, like sometimes like people are like, I just want to talk to an elder, then we follow it up with those after camp. But most of the time, if we can't get to them, it's because there's an overwhelming amount, usually for like one person. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Yuki, you had a question?
It was kind of a question, just kind of sharing an idea.
Yeah.
For our camp, we're thinking of doing something like the Touch of Love activity, but kind of altering a little bit of it. Our camp is geared towards hope this year, and so similar to like the idea of coming back to God, just like really quick for that. I remember doing that on my first year of GPA. Like there was like one person representing God, there's me, and I had like 3 people representing some parts of me, like pretty much wrestling me down for me to get to God. And for me, actually, I didn't really feel that much from the activity, like being the person wrestling. I guess it was just kind of like a physical activity for me, and I just wanted to beat the guys. But the moment when I was someone else's guy, like my best friend, and I was like, screaming at him. That was when I actually felt the activity. Like I felt like what it's like to be in the position of God, to really want your child to come back to you. And so carrying that mentality, we're trying to bring that to the touch of love activity, in a sense of like, not only the person that's getting like touched or hugged, like feeling that type of love, but for the person around the room standing up, touching and hugging people, to know what it's like to love another person, or to forgive another person. So the question would be based off like, so it can't be geared toward hope. And so like, a question might be, no matter what this person has done, like I will continue to love them anyway. And something like that, like it'll be really impactful for the person sitting down, but for the person like standing up and hugging that person, like you're forgiving them, And I feel that's a really important aspect that we're trying to involve into our camp. So that's all.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Very inspiring. Tom?
All right, yeah. One more thing that I want to add. In order for people to be happy, happiness, conscious gratefulness. All right. So maybe by incorporating like a daily grateful box, like where anyone can write anonymously something that they're grateful for, fold it up, put it in the box, and then at the end of the day, someone reads all the gratefuls out loud to everybody, right? So like in the gratefuls, it could be like, oh yeah, I want to thank Jordan for bringing me hot chocolate today. All right, it was awesome. It tasted awesome. All right, like just like simple stuff like that. Like I think that will help put a nice touch at the end of the day. Like it could have been especially heavy, throughout the entire day. But at the end of the day, they're like, oh yeah, like this is all the good things that happened today, and this is what people are more grateful for. So I think by having conscious gratefulness, I think that it can boost the general level of happiness and gratitude throughout camp to a higher level.
Yeah, absolutely. Great idea. Thank you. Okay, we got 2 minutes left, so unless somebody has a dying desire to share something, let me know. Great, okay. Thank you so much for joining us, and hope you guys have a great camp this summer. Let me know if you have any further questions or need more details, or I'm sure Koki and I and Cecile are happy to divulge more information about the different activities they shared. But otherwise, have a great evening and have a great camp. Take care, everybody.
Bye.